Welcome to this Android course. To get started, we need to first of all set up the programming environment. We need four things to be able to use Flutter for developing Android apps. We first of all need Android Studio. Most of you have already downloaded and installed it. Second, we need the Flutter SDK. Third, we need Visual Studio Code, which will be our main code editor. Fourth, we need Git, which is internally used by Flutter. You want to use it you can still use it for like cloning repositories and so on, but this will be internally used by Flutter. So maybe let's start with Git. You can go to Downloads and choose your operating system. Here I'm on Windows, and choose your version, maybe 32-bit or 64-bit. For me, my computer is 64-bit. I will choose this one, and I already have it here downloaded. Once it's downloaded, to install it, you just double click it. You confirm the dialog box, which may appear like this. Then you choose next until the installation is complete. Just choose the default settings. Once you have finished installing Git, download and install Visual Studio Code, which is the code editor we need to use. You can choose your code editor if you don't have it yet. I'm on Windows, so it will be downloaded, so I don't need to download it again. I already have it here. Once you have it, you also double click it and follow the instructions, which is just clicking next. You don't have to do anything special while installing VS Code. Once you have installed Git and the VS Code and Android Studio, you should have already installed it. If anyone struggled to install Android Studio before, you can just reinstall it by double clicking on it. And for me here it's running. I can close it first and click OK and confirm this dialog. If you have any previous version to uninstall, you click next. Yes, next, and ensure that these two options are checked, specifically Android virtual device, because when this option is not checked, it's like this, you will not be able to create virtual devices. So make sure this option is checked before you proceed. Click next, you choose the default location, install. It won't take too long, or it may take too long depending on your computer, but usually installing Android Studio is straightforward. What might take time is installing other required components, which will look a bit later, but this will install Android Studio by default. So currently we have installed Android Studio. I don't need to start it now, just finish. We come to that later. I have installed VS Code, Android Studio, and Git. These are the things I have installed so far, which means the only thing remaining is Flutter. So to install Flutter, I will come here in Google and type Flutter and choose the first link which appears, which is about downloading Flutter. Click on Get Started and choose your operating system. Flutter can be used to develop apps on Windows and Mac. These are the devices you are using. For me, I'm on Windows machine. Then, since you can use Flutter to create Android apps, web applications, or desktop, let me choose Android since our focus is on Android. So we have two options. We can install Flutter from VS Code. You remember you have already installed Flutter. You have already installed VS Code. Or we can download and install it manually. Let's start with this option, which is a bit maybe the simplest one, because this one sometimes fails, but I will also go through it to show you what you can do to complete this. You can download this zip file, which is the one I already have here. Then once you have downloaded it, you can right click and choose extract all files. I can extract all files here. It's a bit of 2.5 gigabytes. It's a bit too big. I can pause until this completes. It's taking a bit of time. So internally, Flutter contains the Flutter SDK, which is the framework for building cross-platform applications. You can develop Android apps, iOS applications, desktop applications, web applications using a single code base. That is the main advantage of Flutter. But also it has other tools required to run or preview your Flutter applications on the emulator or on the other devices. So everything is bundled within this folder, which is being extracted to this downloads folder. So it's taking a bit of time. We have to be patient. Or you can just whenever you are watching this video, you can just see. It's about 2 minutes. So once the extraction is complete, you will see a folder similar to the one you had before. Just double click. It contains a folder called Flutter. If you open it, it contains a lot of files. So click back and copy this Flutter folder, Ctrl C or Ctrl X to cut it, and place it on local disk C. For me, I have already an SDK called Flutter SDK. So let me call this Ctrl V. I paste this folder here on this local disk C. This is where I'm placing the folder. So this one, I may even delete it. Yes, so I have the Flutter folder, which is now placed on my local disk C. This is my SDK. If you want to rename it, you can call it SDK, but let me just keep it this name, Flutter. So we have installed all the required things. We have installed Android Studio, Git, Visual Studio Code, have installed Visual Studio Code, and also Flutter SDK. Next step, let's look at now how we start using them.